doing it and doing it and doing it. Whatever you do not be a product manager. Engineers have a million things tugging at their time, right? They want to believe in it, so you have to enroll them into the vision, and so they agree that this is impactful.
Hey everybody, so today we are with David Meyer, who is one of the CPO at Databricks, one of the two CPO actually. Hey David.
Two SVP products. Ali
Okay,
is the
sorry.
CEO and the CPO by design.
All right, thanks so much for your time. I know you're super busy. It's super cool to have you. So I feel like we've been working at Databricks for when did you join Databricks actually? From the beginning?
August of 2017.
Okay, so almost from the beginning.
Well,
And
I mean,
you've
it's going since like 2013, but it was 200 people when I joined. It's a little bigger now.
It was 2000 when I joined.
So, well, maybe we can start if you can tell us a little bit more about what you are doing at Databricks. Like you mentioned, you're SVP of the product. What does that mean exactly? Like, what do you do?
Yeah, so Databricks, we build a lot of our innovation working with our top customers. And so the founders and Adam and I, the two heads of product, and a bunch of other people are constantly working on this strategy. We have a goal to make data and AI simple for every company to run their business on, right? To be kind of the AI operating system or database for every company in the world, or every organization in the world to unlock the data. So that's the vision, and then we break it into a lot of pieces, and we have a lot of strategy reviews of the top goals, and then we figure out the implementation plan. There's 100 teams across engineering, and each of them are paired with product managers, and you kind of distill that into the overall product plan, and you just keep turning the cranks on that thing. So it's a lot of fun and a lot of work and a lot of debate.
So, are you more in that case? Are you more customer facing? Like because we also
Yeah,
had
so
Adam.
we've run it different ways. When I joined, I was kind of running and building out product. Ali had run product before he became CEO. And then we kind of I was taking it from there, and then Adam joined and we split the job. And when we split the job, I was kind of running the platform, and he was running all the capabilities on top, the AI, machine learning, etc. And then we just decided we just give it all to Adam. So he's running the product machine, and I'm figuring out how to take it to our tens of thousands of customers, with our field, which is 5,000 people. So think of it kind of inbound over there and outbound through me, but it's all, he and I are, interchangeable.
To prepare for this talk, I did some research on you, and I find out that you have a diploma in civil engineering. So how did you end up being an SVP of a large company?
Yeah, it's funny. I got graduate degrees in environmental engineering, and I couldn't get the job I wanted. So I ended up doing nuclear engineering because that's what my dad did, and I knew people that needed help there. But it was just kind of like math and stuff like that. And I was doing nuclear safety assessment stuff. And then I lived with a guy at a startup back in 96, 97. Startup called Plumtree, and he invited me to have lunch with the founder of Plumtree, and the guy offered me a job as their first QA engineer. So I went into QA engineering and then product, and it's just fun. Enterprise software is exciting. You just dig in, you learn, you really work with customers, and you can help them achieve a lot.
It's pretty amazing. And since what's project management like at Databricks? Like maybe what's your day-to-day tasks?
So it's really kind of being the glue between all the stakeholders and finding a way to move, Databricks vision forward while helping our customers succeed. So it always starts, basically all these books and stuff kind of describe a product manager as like the mini CEO of a product. And that's garbage, right? People that come into a product management role at Databricks thinking they're the mini CEO and they can just decide what happens, that's garbage. You're more like you're not the rock star, you're the roadie, you know? So the vision is the rock star, what we're trying to achieve. And then you're just like plugging in wires and stopping something from smoking over here and like trying to get people in the door sitting to listen to the music. And like, there's so many pieces to get it done. And Databricks is a very technical company. So you have to really understand how the product works, really use the product a lot, really understand the customers. You have to find customers that know what they're trying to do better than you, so you can learn from them. So it's like a lot of helping make it happen in a way that's coherent with our long-term strategy.
So who is the CEO at the end? Because someone still has to decide. I want to put the button here and do that feature.
I
How is it
mean,
working?
I'll use CEO and CPO ultimately. But the CEO of the product is really, it sounds kind of pithy or an avoidance, but it's the strategy document. The strategy document is personified, and anything you do, you have to test against that. That decides. The customers are going to ask for things. So I think about like, okay, are you customer obsessed? Yes. We're customer obsessed with a big C, not a little c. A little c would be customer obsessed about one customer. You talk to a customer, they're going to ask for features that it's not in your interest to build. Why? Because 99 other customers would see that as friction, this specific thing they're trying to do. So you need to be customer obsessed for your target addressable market, the TAM. And that means filling their needs, fixing what they're trying to do to achieve their goal, but subject to our strategy, which really tries to figure out a long-term durable way to.
And so how do you get that information? I feel like I know you're going to say you have to be data driven and collect the feedback and track everything. But sometimes I've seen so many data just being used to make the points you already know and already want. Like it's like so easy to get like a giant bias and
We
collect
call that
whatever.
weaponizing it.
Yeah.
Databricks used to have this cultural principle of be data driven, but it did exactly what you just said, Quentin. Everybody weaponized it because I can basically make data prove any point. I'm good with data, and I'm convincing. So people were weaponizing it and pushing their own agendas with their data. So we changed that cultural principle from let the data decide to be truth seeking. If you're really truth seeking, you can't weaponize data because weaponizing data is trying to mislead people with data. That's not truth seeking. So I got away from the origin of your question there, but I think the key is if you have a strategy document that's from first principles. So you start with the beginning of time and you lay out the reason why this is the right thing to do. You can use that as a test case against anything someone proposes in a room. Sometimes the strategy needs to be modified because a new technology emerged or a new trend developed or a market crashed or something like that. So they need to be living documents. But as long as the principles remain valid, they're tested against the current market, the strategy document should remain true and should help you decide whether to do it in the A proposal or the B proposal.
Yeah, so in that case, because I feel like as a PM, it's really easy to have super strong personal conviction, and I want to do that because that's what I believe.
Very confident and often wrong.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's what I was about to say. You have to accept that you will be wrong, and you have to pivot really quickly. Otherwise, it's going to be a mess, I guess.
Yeah, and it's like any good product manager uses their product all the time. So you're also a user, right? So you have opinions, and you're like, I use this thing. There's so much friction here. If we did it this way, it'd be better. And you're so confident. But the problem is you're one person. It's easy to overfit to yourself. So you need to test the idea out with a bunch of people, real practitioners that have been doing it for years. And then the trick is you're a human, right? So you're gonna lead the witness without meaning to. You're gonna say, "Here's a great idea. Is it great?" And they don't want to. They're like, "Yeah, that's great." So it's really about you know, how would you solve this kind of problem? Does this kind of situation ever, make your day harder? Yes. How would you want to solve it? And just kind of you have to tease it out because it's really hard to be a good product manager because it's really hard to step away from your ego and your ideas and what you've convinced yourself will be good for the customer.
I
Yeah,
guess especially when you worked on it for a while.
Say that
I
again?
think you just described the key skills and traits we're looking for a successful product leader. Like,
Yeah. I mean, and I think there's all of the nuts and bolts of product management, and then there's something in product management about having, and I hate this term, but it's like good product sense or good product taste. Someone wrote a good blog post about this recently where this effusive product taste is really just the result of a lot of hard work. Grinding and using the product and watching a lot of people use the product and seeing what works. And you do that over years and years and you internalize it until it's like instinct and taste. It's not like people are born with product taste. If you're hungry for the truth and truth seeking and you use the product every day, many hours a day, and you talk to customers and you solve it, like you develop this taste, but that taste is really hard. And then the last part, which is the rarest, is having all of that, knowing the right thing to do, and then being able to execute, right? Because you can't just write it on paper and think it's going to happen. Engineers have a million things tugging at their time, right? They want to believe in it. So you have to enroll them into the vision. And so they agree that this is impactful. And then, there's a million other things. People are emailing you constantly. If you're working in an area that people care about, you're getting so much inbound. You have to figure out, oh, this customer needs to talk. There's just a lot of time crunch, which makes it hard to execute. So be great and execute.
Yeah,
Two pieces.
and listening to you, I feel like it's somehow very close to being a good, maybe pre-sales engineer, in the sense of you really have to ask the good question, not making any assumption, really trying to listen what's the actual issue, so that you can properly, position the product. But I feel like it's really like I never saw it like that, but like it's closer
Yeah, no,
than
I
what
think
I
I
thought.
think that the elements of a lot of jobs are the same, right? To excel in fast-paced environment. I think the thing that's really the distinguishing aspect of product management is the long-term principled view. All of the incentives are for short-term thinking. Salespeople want to close a deal. Engineer want to plan out the scrum. They want the document all buttoned up for the thing they're starting to develop. So everything is pushing you towards short-term compressed thinking. And you need to hold the line to think about how will this impact the customer, Databricks, the market 4 years from now. And of course, there's going to be very, very imperfect information the further you go out. So I think that's what kind of distinguishes it. And maybe you disagree, but it seems that's a stronger dimension in product than in like pre-sales.
Yeah, no, you're right. It's like balancing the like because all the field and all the sellers are gonna ask you for the feature which is gonna let you sign the deal, and then that's it. Where you actually have to build for the
and one of the key aspects of the product manager is to go and discuss with customers, capture their feedback, and build a feature. But how do you balance, for example, if you have feedback from, I don't know, a large customer, I don't know, this customer is spending hundreds of millions, and at the end, maybe this customer will try to cannibalize the features and maybe make them tailored for his need. So how can you
Yeah.
balance this asks?
I mean, that's really the art, right? And so you've integrated all this experience into this product sense or product taste. But really, that's just accumulated, war wounds that you've internalized. And so understanding, like, if a customer asks for, something to be moved in the UI or some parameter to be in the API, you have to understand what they're trying to solve, like the deeper problem. Like, this is kind of the 5 whys of, why do you need that? Why antecedent to that? Why is that important? What are you trying to achieve as an outcome? And then understand that, like, is that generalizable, what they're trying to do? So, have an engineering working plan of the system. But then, a great friend of yours, if you're in a place like Databricks that has true scale, is we have a lot of telemetry. So there's probably things the person said, which you can assess what percentage of the customers do that kind of thing, whether it's like, connect to some system of data. Okay, they're connecting to the system of data foo. What percentage of our customers ever try to connect to foo? So you can take elements of it and see how universal the need is. But you could do that by interviewing 20 customers. You'd be shocked. Interviewing 20 customers, you get so much information. Interviewing 10, you get so much information. Interviewing 5. If you have a hypothesis and you talk to 5 customers, you're going to have a pretty good sense of whether or not you're crazy. So, like, people often think that you need so much data, but you just need to, with an open mind, not leading questions, talk to 5 customers. You'll be a lot smarter about it.
So how do you go from there? So let's say you have the requirements and you have the need from the customer. And now I'm gonna take, for example, AI, because AI is moving so quickly now, and I think it's really it's a real challenge. How do you know? Like, I feel like if you're a small startup, okay, you can build something, it fails, like, the market is moving, and in 1 year, it's like you realize it wasn't the good thing.
Yeah.
So it's okay, you can trash everything, just pivot and go build something else. When you operate at the scale of Databricks and you have thousands of customers, how do you solve that? It seems like you have to balance going too fast and then potentially, making the wrong product, but at the same time, you don't want to miss an innovation.
Yeah. I mean, this is why people kind of love the job, because it's such a fascinating intellectual problem. But let's just give an example of the DBRX model that we released, a year or so ago. When we decided to invest in this DBRX model, and this is our own open source, for a while, it was like the best, foundational model out there. It wasn't clear what models customers could use, because then proprietary were well above open source, and a lot of the open source ones, the leading ones, had dubious origin in terms of their source data and whether a derivative commercial work would be viable from an intellectual property and legal standpoint for someone to use. So in other words, it wasn't clear that customers could build LLM derivatives on their own data and use them commercially. But we believed that the future of AI for businesses was AI on your data. But there wasn't a foundational model that was clear that they could use. They were all legally murky. So we created DBRX, and we invested a lot in it. I think we published like $10 million, whatever. And for 2 weeks, it was the world's best model. And then Llama 3 came out.
Llama 3, yeah.
Yeah, but then what Zuckerberg said publicly in a lot of forums about the long-term plan for the Llama series of models, and because that was in the market, we didn't need to keep doing DBRX 2, 3, 4, 5, because the customers had a solution. Okay, so let's generalize what happened there. For us to be investing in something, because as you said, there's so many demands on our time, so many opportunities. AI is moving very fast. We have to know that it satisfies a few criteria, including it solves a deep customer need that there's not clearly another vendor to solve, or that we can solve because of our other context, we can solve in a durably differentiated way. Once Llama started coming out, we we would have been one of many if we kept investing a lot in DBRX. So what do? We took the same research team and we started investing in all kinds of techniques that we're publishing all the time about, different LLMs as judges, eval models, and then the new technique for fine tuning just on the prompt response. It has some acronym, But so like the key is, if you're gonna, like, as a product manager, if something's going to take like a person week, yeah, you can work with engineer and make sure you do it and roll it out. If it doesn't work, you can roll it back and stuff like that. But if you're going to do anything of real significant investment, why is Databricks the best company? Why will we defensively have the best solution in the market for that need? Right? And it has to rely on our durable strengths. And then we'll invest in it.
So looking back at DBRX, since you take that example, how do you analyze that? Like, was it the good thing, like the right thing to do it back in that time, or do you think product-wise maybe?
Obviously, Databricks has resources. We've raised historic money and all this stuff. So at the time, I don't look at a decision and judge it based on the information now. Could we have saved $10 million? Probably. But hey, it was a great marketing event, right? It showed people that you could build industry-leading foundational models on the Mosaic stack. So even if with all the current information, I still would have done it, right? And it actually, a lot of customers are using DBRX. It's a very good model. And we learned a lot. But the key was, we need to move the market forward in terms of commercial AI on your data. And even DALL-E before that fundamentally moved the market forward. And that's good for us because we want to, help every customer be a data analyst.
I think I have it here.
Yeah, that's why I think I brought it upstairs. That's a really nice one.
Yeah, I was the one who gave it to you in Paris.
Oh, that's right. That's right. I've used that in some of my videos.
And since we're talking about AI, how do you think AI is impacting the data platform in the future? Because I think I don't know, 3 years ago it was data warehousing. Before that it was ML, then it was governance, and now we have AI. Every 2 years or 3 years we have a new cycle. And so how it will impact the platform, and how on your end, as a Databricks company, try to balance those investments, because it's the platform is getting bigger and bigger, and how do you place your bet?
So, there's layers to that question. So ultimately, what do you think is our overriding goal with everything we're adding to the platform? If you could, what would you think it would be?
I think, as usual, democratizing access to data and AI to everyone.
So that's a good buzzword, but basically I would say simplicity. Simplicity will win. The reason Unity Catalog is so important is it fundamentally simplifies the whole system. With a Lakehouse, you don't have to do integration with a warehouse. Inside the Lakehouse is now vector searches, feature stores, online tables, apps, all the computers serverless. So the work to get to the business goal keeps simplifying. And the irony is, with all of these new efforts underway at Databricks with our, thousands of engineers, it's really actually making it simpler. There's lots of new capabilities with lots of new names, but all of those things mean you don't have to stitch this Lakehouse together with a bunch of other infra to do basic data and AI stuff.
And the end goal being to reduce the difficulty to get access to the data, so that you can.
And AI is a big part of that. I mean, I've always been a little skeptical on the Gen AI in the platform, talking to the data, but it's shocking how well it works now. So since Unity Catalog is seeing all of the traffic and learning about all the cardinality of the data and how it joins and stuff, when I'm writing SQL in the product now, joins against tables that I hadn't even thought of yet in the ghost text. And I'm like, oh yeah, that is the new version of the table. I should, it's spooky how good it is for the plumbing. And, people with less and less sophistication are going to be able to get the same value in a fraction of the time out of the platform.
Do you see the same happening on the data engineering side? I feel like it's moving. And I'm not even talking about Databricks. Overall, on the data engineering, I was expecting to see some big open source project just to magically do all the, like some kind of the DBT of the world, fully Gen AI, but like it's not really happening. What's going on here?
It is funny. I mean, I would say that all of the code and data pipelines are getting the autocomplete stuff and everything I'm talking about. So but it's still like, what's a good example of that recently? So in like, as you're, you can create a data pipeline now, like visually, like connecting things. But you'd kind of like, DLT is declarative, Delta Live Tables, where you can say this data from source A should go to destination B with these transformations, and Databricks will spin up the compute. But you really want that to be like, state the business problem and spit out a DLT, you know?
Yeah, it should be like, okay, I
Nobody
have
does
my
that yet.
data.
Where's that? I don't know. I mean, I
What are
think,
you guys doing?
I think the trick is it's still hard. Like what you're able to do with these data pipelines with like exabytes of data, it's really hard to make those work. Databricks has built a massive company on making it easier for highly skilled data engineers to make that work. And now they don't have to be as highly skilled. But it's really hard to crunch that much data. So you can't kind of dumb it down into a prompt spitting out a pipeline that can move that kind of data at production scale, low TCO, running your whole business. It's too core to your business to really trust it to that yet, but it's moving fast.
Yeah, which means now the AI in the data engineering world will just increase the productivity, like helping you, like, I don't know,
Exactly.
auto-completion, fix some issues, understanding the logs, maybe debugging for you, writing some simple codes for you, but then you need to still do the extra mile.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, well, I still think it's a little bit too boring. We need to do, I don't know, maybe some crazy MCP thing and plug everything together one of these days. We'll see.
We'll see. We'll see. And repeat this interview next year. We'll see where we are.
All right. All right. So look, I also wanted to touch a little bit on I know you are talking to many exec and many customers. So I wanted to see, do you have any insight on what are they doing currently around like data and AI? Do you think we
It's
are at the stage where they really start to put stuff in production using AI, or is it still some kind of POCs, or do you really see, things really being, running out to production and having some business?
yeah, there's a wide variety of customers. Like all the big customers are doing what you call boring ML, old school AI, where they're doing outlier detection. Every time you run a credit card, there's some ML. Don't call that AI, or it's AI, not Gen AI. But so all of our customers are doing, massive at scale production work around non-Gen AI. But the use cases I'm hearing even now that are actively being built are light years ahead of what I was hearing 6 months ago. Like, large manufacturers of heavy equipment having AI helped with the design life cycle of the deep schematic drawings and stuff like that. And you're like, how is that possible? But then, and I was in a meeting with the CEO of one of these companies, and Ali, and Ali knows a thing or two, if you haven't noticed when you talk to him. And he was just talking about all the latest advances in creating synthetic data, and then having LLM as judge, evaluate that synthetic data and sort it into high quality synthetic data and low quality. So like there's so many things you can do, even with deep like CAD drawings, 3-dimensional spatial stuff that I wouldn't have guessed we'd already be doing with some of these models. But it's such a, like if you can underwrite an insurance like plan in 6 hours instead of 6 weeks, like the material advantage it gives you in the financial markets is astonishing. So there's like what this is doing is it's making the highly skilled plant manufacturing engineers more productive. It's not eliminating them. It means that they don't have to do the groundwork around finding all the schematics from the previous projects and looking at the commonalities. Like it's making the super sharp subject matter experts 10 times more productive. It's not trying to replace them because that's absurd, you know.
Yeah, and I think it's the same on the software engineering piece anyway. Like it's really making those really good data engineer even more productive.
Predict like using this metadata to optimize the tables, then like coming up with liquid, then with this auto liquid that will automatically optimize the table for you. Then we have Genie. So when at Databricks they came up with an idea, like did they had this vision, like this long-term vision? Because I can still I kept thinking like, how is this even possible? But was it like really the objectives that you had first, or those are things that came up later? Like how can
Yeah, I
we
mean,
deal with this metadata?
that's a great question. And I think it's going to be a little bit of a combination. There's a lot of emergent innovation that's made possible by preceding innovation that you didn't think about when you designed the preceding innovation. So Unity Catalog was necessary for us to be able to have deeper reasoning capabilities about who had access to what and what was using what for the purpose of governance. But if you look at the principal design around all of this, it was to have these fundamental reasoning capabilities across the entire data estate. And it's a logical conclusion that these fundamental reasoning capabilities across the data estate can be incredibly useful when you apply AI to it. But that was kind of a second order effect of a good principal design. And so if you think about AI augments humans, the initial kind of Unity Catalog vision that I saw, and Matei probably saw around a few corners because he always does, but was to let humans be able to reason about these things systematically by querying the system. And AI just augments humans, you know? So it's kind of a derivative. If someone said, what will this allow us to do next? And had an hour-long brainstorming, we would have talked about these things. But that wasn't in the original design, but a good design allows for a lot of multiplicity of like, so any good platform, people will build things on it that you never would have imagined. That's kind of like the litmus test for a platform. Do people build apps on it that you're like, I had no idea you could do that with this platform? That means you have kind of good design principles in your platform.
So how do you like? What's your advice for someone to have this kind of mindset? Because I feel like I'm a good PM when it comes to bitching about a button not being at the right place or like it's not working well. That I can do, but I feel like going to the next level, which is really having the like the longer term vision, is really hard. How do you build that?
You know, it's going to be like a super lame answer. It's just grinding, like doing it and doing it and doing it and making mistakes. Now, if you're smart, you can accelerate that learning path by actually looking back at what, like, in every one page or a P or D, you have hypotheses embedded in them, right? And if you look every year at what you wrote the previous year and where you were an idiot, like, whenever I'm interviewing someone and we're talking about a thing they did and they launched or whatever, I'm like, what happened that surprised you because it was not in your kind of mental picture it wasn't in your hypotheses? What emergent behavior conflicted with your mental model going in, And if you ask yourself that question, I think you can accelerate the learning and figuring out kind of the durable long-term thinking.
Okay, I'm gonna have to do that with the demos.
And do you think this is the right time? Maybe like, let's suppose I want to become a product manager, like join the product team. Is it really a good time, or AI is gonna replace or like reduce their amount of work?
There's always going to be the people that need to grind to make it happen and make it happen the right way. You're going to use a lot more AI, but I did this podcast recently about product stuff on 20VC, and I'll say the same thing here. Do not be a product manager. Now, whatever you do not be a product manager. Now, if I say that to you and you're like, I'm going to be a product manager because you have to, then you should. It's a thankless job in a lot of ways. The satisfaction has to be intrinsic of making things happen, like creating the future that's unlikely. And if that feels really good and you're willing to deal with, all the crazy, it could be a good job for you. But don't try to become a product manager unless you have to do it. And if you have to do it, you're doing it today. If today you're sending emails to people in groups you don't work for, telling them how they have to change their product because you have to, because you're using it and you can't stand how it's behaving and you have to let them know, then you might be a product manager. But if you have a different job and you're not also doing product management because you have to, you don't want to be a product manager. You just think it's a CEO of a product and you want to be a CEO. That's just as hard in a different way. Much harder, I'm sure.
Makes sense.
Do it. That's my advice. But if you still need to do it, do it.
All right, sounds good. Well, look, I think we can close it on these nice, on that amazing advice. Don't become David Meyer.
Exactly. Don't be me. Whatever you do. Well, thanks a lot. That was a lot of fun.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much.